Hi, this is Garibay, and today I am talking about The Accountant. And so The Accountant is a movie starring Ben Affleck, and I saw it this weekend with my daughter Autumn. She's 16. It was the only reason I mentioned that is she had a really unusual opinion of the film. I thought it was just kind of interesting to see, because it's an action movie, and so I went to see it. And my daughter was like, "Hey, can I come?" And I was really curious why she wanted to go, because just like she's not a huge action movie fan, but she was really fascinated by the mathematics aspects of the film. So the film does have these mathematical aspects. By the way, spoilers all over this. All right, so basically, it was a good movie. I very much enjoyed it. The concept was this autistic kid has two parents. Actually has a traditional family, right? He has a brother, he has a mother, and he has a father. And the mother and father are married. And he's autistic, and basically, whenever he can't finish anything, he goes into essentially fits, right? So the mom says, "Hey, let's get him mental health." And, so they go to this mental health doctor, and the military father says, "No, we're not going to do that. We need to deal with this," right? So the mother divorces the father and then leaves both the brother, the non-autistic brother, and the autistic brother with the military father. The military father then deals with, his sons and how they deal with, he actually raises them. Which was, and I will tell you right now, I really enjoyed this film. It was a great film, but this was a very problematic part of the film, and the reason why was I talked about this with my daughter. I thought this had a really strange message at the end of the movie when it came to the father, right? Because I feel like if you're watching this movie, Ben Affleck turns out to be like this, almost like a superhero, right? He's the hero of the film, just like you would get in Die Hard or any other straight action film, right? So he turns out to be this, super tough, super competent killer, just straight up killer. Now they make it pretty clear that he kills bad guys, right? But he's very selective in which bad guys he kills. So that's a little problematic. Not problematic. They're just saying, hey, this is how he's different from other killers, And so, but he's also an accountant because he has this insane ability to do math, right? So, but what was interesting is the father treats him terrible, I have a real problem with the message of this movie, because if you're paying attention, it seems like this is a really bad message. It's like the message is, hey, if you need mental health, don't get mental health. Allow your super strict, abusive father to, now he wasn't abusive in that he never struck him. What he did was he would just push him to his absolute limits almost all the time, right? So an incredibly restrictive father and who pushed the kids to their limits. But so I feel like the message of the film was, if you're a father and you temper your sons like swords, right? They're going to come out to be super awesome killing machines, which I'm like, oh, that's a rough message to have in a film, that's, I don't know, that, I have particular opinions about mental health, but even I understood, whoa, that's a pretty hard message for this film. I mean, that's, and I'm not sure that they were trying to say that, but that's what the movie says. If you do the math, air quotes there, on the film, that's what it really comes out to is, hey, if you just skip all the therapy and just power through your autism, you could be a super hard, cool killer, I was like, whoa, and you can also be incredibly competent actuarial. It was a bizarre message, right? So, back to the story. the father raises the two sons after the mother leaves, and it also and then basically, so the non-autistic brother has to deal with his autistic brother, and the father raises them both, and also raises them that like the two of you are together, you always help one another, you push through, and you make sure that you can be there for one another, which was also a good message. He was like family first, and I like that message. I really like that message of you put family first, and I definitely believe in that. Blood is blood, and you should do for blood, and not blood is not blood. And you need to limit what you do for people aren't your blood, right? And so I thought it was interesting. So then Ben Affleck's character, Christian Wolf, he is the accountant killer, right, in this film. So he goes about his business, and he is doing work for all kinds of high-end criminals, like drug cartels and all this kind of stuff. And what he does is he does the work for them. He cooks their books, and then he can come in and out of places, because not only has the ability to do hard numbers, he has the ability to take numbers in and out of places because he's combat trained by his father. And actually, he wasn't even combat trained by his father. His father was a military officer, and he would get combat trainers from wherever they went all over the world. So he traveled, he knew languages, and he knew combat styles from all over the world, which is that's a brilliant aspect for the person itself. This was a really good film in that it was a action film with a pretty deep topic, right? So it's like, what if you have a killer who has a disability, right? And now I will say this: if you're a killer and you not being able to tell people's emotions and having Asperger's, which I know that is no longer the term, it's autism, whatever the term is now. I know they've retired Asperger's, but they actually used it in the film, right? But if you have Asperger's, or what used to be termed Asperger's, that's like it was a little strange in the film, because they were like, this is a disability, and I'm like, for a killer, that would be, that's a feature, not a bug, so it was kind of interesting. The action in it was excellent, the fight scenes and the shooting and the weapons were fantastic, really, really good, very, very good. Ben Affleck does an amazing job acting in this. He has really come up as a tremendous actor. I think he's really done a great job. One of the other things that really surprised me too is he's getting old, but he does not look old in this film. He it's pretty clear that, whatever he's doing to keep himself, fit and young, seems to be working. He looked like 5-10 years younger than he actually is in this film. So, the only reason that mattered is they put the love interest in there as Anna Kendrick, and she's from Pitch Perfect, and she was this quirky accountant girl who found an issue that he has brought in to work on for this company called Living Robotics. And so he's called in to do the math work for Living Robotics, and because they have some missing money, right? And so he goes to town and he finds the missing money, and he finds that it's $61 million worth of missing money. $61 million worth of missing money. So he comes in, and there's this great scene where he writes all these numbers on the glass walls with these markers, and is able to figure out that this $61 million is missing. There are 3 people who are presented as, within the company who could have done it. The CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, and then I think there's another, maybe a vice president, who's kind of a female executive. And so there's a little bit of a mystery on which one did it. And in the end, the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, who's played wonderfully by John Lithgow, does a fantastic job with it. He was actually doing a scam to take his company public. So he was stealing money in order to funnel it back into the company to make it worth a lot of money when he took it public, right? So he was stealing money to make the company look more healthy than it was, right? And so I was impressed with that too. I thought they did a good job. It was a really interesting film overall. One of the things that was interesting was my daughter watched it, and I think it was kind of a little bit personal for her, because there's a girl in the movie who literally says, "I'm an accountant because I looked at what I really wanted to go into art, but I was good at math, and my dad said, hey, art degrees don't pay, so I got a degree in math, and now I'm an accountant." Right now, my daughter is actually extremely good at math, and she's an artist. She's extremely good at art. And she's going to be going to college next year. So so this was real close to home for her, and so it was kind of interesting. And actually, it'll be interesting to see what she was. I'm actually hoping that she does decide to go in for whatever she wants. I don't think she really needs to decide to get a degree for mathematics, because that's what's going to pay the best. I think she's a really bright girl, and I think it's going to work out regardless of where she goes. But it was really fascinating seeing that subject brought up in the film, because it's a very personal decision for my daughter, and it's creeping up really fast. One of the other things that was really interesting was, so basically, I'll tell you some of the things that happened in the end, right? So in the end, there were actually, this is a great film because it had two twists. So it had a well-executed twist at the end where, the Christian Wolf, the autistic killer, decides, hey, I'm going to get that 60, the chief executive officer who's cheating all these people, I'm going to go kill him because he's cheating people, and he didn't let me finish the job I was supposed to do. Right, so he decides to take it on his own hands and kill this chief executive officer. So he goes ahead and does that, and and jumps in to do the killing. And there's a person who has hired a whole team of people, led by this one other killer, to stop him. And that happens to be his brother, who did all the training with him when he was young, right? And so they actually have this great scene where they realize that they are both going after the same guy, or like that one is going after to kill this guy and one's been hired to protect this guy. And the non-autistic brother does nothing and lets his brother kill him. And then they're like, hey, let's get together for lunch on Thursday, which I thought was a really interesting ending. One of the things I did like about this is I did not see the surprises coming. It was excellent, really, really good. It wasn't predictable. The film was not predictable, which was great. It was well acted. It had good action scenes. There was another part where there was this really cool callback in the very, very, very end of the film where there's a second twist, right? So throughout the movie, the Christian Wolf has this lady who is calling in and using a computer voice to assist him. So he has like a hacker who does work for him and like kind of points him in the right direction, and works with him as a team, like a team, right? Well, this other, this hacker that he uses is actually the daughter of the psychiatrist that Christian Wolf's mother brought him to, that the father refused to let him see. And there was this great scene in the beginning of the film where he's putting together a puzzle of Muhammad Ali, and he loses a single piece and he freaks out, and the daughter of the psychologist, who also has autism, finds the puzzle piece and gives it to him, right? Well, at the very end, you see that she's been doing this her whole life, like that she finds puzzle pieces for him and helps him to put everything together. And so not only is he a super capable accountant and a super capable killer, but he's got this other super capable autistic lady who does all his hacking for him, which is it's mind-boggling. Another aspect of the film I thought was just fascinating was what he did with his earnings, right? So he never took money. He didn't really care. He took, actually, I don't think he got paid. I don't think he took a dime for any of the killings, right? He would just take, he would take some money from these accounting jobs he had, which was enough for him to live on. And then he would take jobs, and then he would say, I don't want cash. I want an RV. I want a Jackson Pollock. I want a #1 Superman. I want, and all of these were in the film. I want 10 tailored suits, from the best tailor in London. What else did he have? Oh, I want Luke Skywalker's Luke Skywalker's actual prop lightsaber. So that was really great. I thought that was awesome. And all of this was in this RV that he would haul around with his truck when he would blow when anybody even got a hint of who he was, he'd just blow town and set up shop somewhere else, right? Which, based on his work, he had to do that, right? He couldn't stay in one place. He had to keep secret identities, all that kind of stuff. One of the things I thought was really cool was this was really, really well done in setting up for a sequel. It was really well set up for a sequel, and it was an excellent, it was really queued up for an excellent sequel, which I thought was really nice. There was one scene, so I watched the action, I really enjoyed the action, and it's kind of interesting because, like when I go see action films, I think, there have been a few action films that are like, hey, let's do it real, let's try to actually get the real, what it would really be like in the combat film. And I think, by and large, those films are almost, you don't see them anymore, right? I think the last one that I saw was with the one with Benicio del Toro, and he was fighting Tommy Lee Jones, and the two of them were it was all about blades, right? They were knife fighters. I think it was called The Hunter or The Hunting. It's been a long time, right? But this one had really good action scenes, except for this one thing that they put in it. There was one dude that Christian Wolf was fighting, and one of the things that's really interesting is, it was pretty realistic, except for this one thing. And my daughter said, "This is complete crap. This would not work." Which I thought was just really interesting to hear my 16-year-old daughter saying, "I think this one action scene is really stupid and over the top." And I don't, I kind of turn my brain off when I see these action films, because I feel like nowadays they want it to be so exciting that they have very little, connection to real combat, and that's okay. I want to see a popcorn movie. I want to go and see a fun film, right? And if it has shades of reality, that's great, but it's going to be over the top in different places. That's just the way it is now, right? So I don't really go in and say, oh, I think this scene was fake, no, this scene was fake. But my daughter did, but I was really fascinated with what my 16-year-old daughter said. That's too over the top. So, she said, so there's this one scene where he's fighting these guys, and this was pretty cool. Like, the weapons that they chose were really good, right? So they had like pistols with silencers, and they had submachine guns, and everyone wore tactical armor, like bulletproof armor, right? And, these tactical vests, right? And so these guys did too. Well, there's this knockdown drag-out fight where Christian Wolf actually gets into it and gets into like a physical scrum on the ground, like a wrestling match with one of these tactical soldiers that was hired to protect the CEO, John Lithgow, right? Well, Christian Wolf unclips a grenade from him, shoves it down his opponent's tactical vest, and then hugs him as much as he can, so that the force of the grenade will go off on inside that opponent's vest, and that his vest would protect him. So there's two vests between Christian Wolf and this explosion, right? Which is really quite interesting. It was very interesting to see how that worked. But my daughter's like, that's a bunch of crap. He would have died, right? And I thought, wow, so it's really interesting just to hear what a young person thought of that particular scene. She's like, yeah, that's way too over the top, and that totally would not work. And so, I thought that was really fascinating, just her opinion on that. And I actually thought, oh, well, that might work, but one of the things, and they had him lay there for a long time afterwards, like, it did really hurt him. He didn't just hop right up after that happened, but it was very interesting. By the way, Anna Kendrick did a great job in it. I think she's a fantastic actress. Did a great job in Pitch Perfect. I really liked her in House of Cards. She did a great job in this. It was really, really well done. There's also the actor from Whiplash, the guy who plays the teacher from the drumming movie called Whiplash. Very sorry, I don't remember his name. He did a good job in this, but his role was poorly written. He played a treasury agent, and which was kind of interesting, and he did a great job of doing it. But he has this scene where he talks and he just like explains his part in the film, and it's very long and very confusing. And so he was in the film. He did a good job acting in the film, but somebody really messed up the writing on his particular role. It was one of the few things in the film that wasn't done really well. Like, I feel like you could have taken his character out, like, almost completely. It was strange, right? And there was also another treasury agent who actually did the groundwork, and another person, I guess the government people, I just can't remember the actors' names. But the actress who did that role, she did an excellent job. Relatively new, I think. I haven't seen her in anything else, but she did a great job as well. Overall, this is a fantastic film. I do suggest seeing it, and have a great one. Take care, everybody.